Hey, this is Matthew Ricks, and today on the Music Business Newsletter, I get a butt whooping. Maybe. But before we get into the butt whooping, if you like this video, like it, comment, tell me where you agree. Maybe you disagree with me, you agree with this artist. If you have a question on the music industry that you want me to answer, just go to MatthewRicks.com, click submit your question. I don't need you to become a member. I don't need you to buy a book. I don't need you to join a Patreon. Just go to MatthewRicks.com and you can be like this guy and send me an email and basically tell me I suck as a human being. So without further ado, let's dive into the email. Hey, Matthew, I saw your video telling artists to stay off of Bandcamp. I respect your experience in the music industry, but I have to call you out on something because it's been bothering me since I watched that video. Emails that start off like this is like when you get a text from your girlfriend who says, we need to talk. You're like, oh, this should be lovely. But let's see what else he has to say here. He says, you keep telling artists not to use Bandcamp, and every time you say it, it honestly makes you sound like either a shareholder or a spokesperson for Spotify more than someone who's supposed to be helping independent artists. Well, I am not a spokesperson for Spotify, and if you watch that whole video where it was labeled streaming versus selling, I said Spotify does not pay artists enough. I am not a shareholder in Spotify either. I would not do that. That would be terrible. I am helping independent artists, and we'll get into more of that, but let's give you your moment. He says, you always talk about building the algorithm, feeding the data, and playing the game. I don't think I've ever used either three of those phrases before. Feeding the data, playing the game. No, I've never used either. Are you sure you're talking to this person? You sure you're replying to this, right? Oh, okay. I've never used that before, but I get what you're saying. I do talk about the algorithm and how you got to service it properly. So yeah, okay, I'll give you that one. Not building, but more feeding. Then he said feeding the data. I don't know what that means. And playing the game. Well, yeah, because anytime you put yourself in the marketplace, I don't care if you're an artist, I don't care if you're a baker, I don't care if you are starting your law firm, like you have to get out in front of people. People got to be able to know who you are. They got to talk about you. They got to like what you're doing. Is that really called playing the game or just marketing yourself? But if you spend your entire life defending Bandcamp, you're probably a little dunce. Just going to say it like it is. No offense. Anyways, the email continues. But that's the exact system that's destroying small artists like us. How is any streaming service destroying small artists? How is an algorithm destroying small artists? I get it. The algorithm is annoying. The algorithm's annoying on everything from YouTube to Instagram to Spotify, whatever. But you can win at the algorithm. You can beat the algorithm. You just have to know how to do it. And it doesn't take long to just figure out patterns and rhythms and stuff. More artists destroy themselves by their dopey decisions they make than Spotify could ever imagine to. Okay? But the email continues. If you actually cared about helping artists, not just giving them motivational sound bites, you'd be telling them to get off of these platforms. He threw a not a Christian word before platforms, so we'll just say platforms, and build fan bases they can actually own. Do you think you own the platform on Bandcamp? Do you think you own the platform on SoundCloud? Do you think you own the platform on Instagram? The answer is no. If Bandcamp tomorrow decided that they didn't like what you were selling or somebody filed a copyright infringement claim, your platform's gone. They'll lock you out of your account. The only time you actually own your platform is if you, I guess if you have a website. But even if you were on stage, you don't own that platform. If you're playing at a venue or a coffee shop or a church or whatever, you don't own that stage because they could yank you off. They could pull the sound if they don't like what you're doing. The email continues. Let's talk about facts for a second. I almost wonder if this is like somebody within Bandcamp. I'm just throwing that out there. says Bandcamp pays artists directly. They take 10 to 15% and the rest goes straight to us. No middleman. Spotify pays around 0.3 of a penny. You need roughly, he's doing math, okay? You need roughly 330,000 plays to make $1,000 on Spotify. On Bandcamp, I can sell 100 albums at $10 each and make that same amount in one day. Right. Who's buying 100 albums on Bandcamp from you? Who? I mean, you could sit here and say I could sell 1 million albums at Bandcamp for $10 each. But who are these people who are buying this? Now I'll get the emails from people who, I sell 100 albums a day on Bandcamp. But who's buying 100 albums in one day? Yeah, I mean, you're throwing numbers out here. And yes, Spotify does. Yes, you can make more money on Bandcamp if people go there, if they buy your album. But you're talking about right now, Bandcamp is a puddle, and Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Amazon Music is the ocean. I want you as an artist to cover more ground. I want you as an artist to be able to get that music in the hands of as many people as possible. And you can't do it when the entire world's out there, but you're focused on a puddle. I don't think you sold 100 albums in one day at $10 a pop. I'm just going to say it. I don't know if you're saying you did, but maybe you're just throwing out a number there and saying, well, I could sell 100 albums in one day at $10 each and make the same amount as Spotify. But what you're missing is this. You said you need 330,000 plays on Spotify to make $1,000. On Bandcamp, I can sell 100 albums. Would you rather have 100 people, the puddle, listening to your music, or would you have 333,000 people listening to your music? Now, if you are sending in emails about defending Bandcamp and you don't work for Bandcamp, then you're probably a purist. You're probably the guy who would never get signed to a record label. You would never be that stupid to do it. But that's a question that I want you to ask yourself. Do you want 333,000 people discovering your music or 100 people? Let's continue with the email, shall we? He says, Bandcamp lets fans pay more. I've had people spend $25, even $50 for a digital album just because it moved them. Try getting that from Spotify. Well, you can set up tipping on Spotify. You know, this is the type of artist right here who tells me, I don't care about money. I'm not selfish. I don't like these big corporations. And then everything here you're talking about is money. And listen, if somebody is so moved by your music, they could just Venmo you or Cash App or Zelle you $25 or $50 because they were so moved by their music that they discovered on Apple Music by you, right? And the email continues. Bandcamp gives artists the emails of their supporters. That's actual fan ownership, not just follower accounts controlled by an algorithm. Yeah, I mean, that's cool. I don't, like on our websites, we don't have an email sign up. We don't have an email sign up at MatthewRicks.com because I don't want to send out emails because I barely check my email. If you know me, you're not sending me an email. You are texting me. But I mean, it's cool to get fan emails because you can do micro targeting. You can, if you're this guy and you're selling 100 CDs a day and you find out that you got 300 fans in Dallas, Texas, and you're going to be hitting up Dallas, then you just send them a blast. Like, yeah, I mean, that's a cool thing. I wish Spotify did do more stuff like this, but also at the end of the day, I don't really want to give, I get enough emails that I don't check. I don't need any more, but it's a cool little thing. The email continues. You can sell merch, CDs, vinyl, and exclusive content all in one ecosystem. Well, I feel like I have to defend Spotify here, and then I'm going to get accused of being a shrill for Spotify even more. You can sell your merchandise on Spotify. You can sell your merchandise on YouTube. Apple Music doesn't do any of this because they don't care. Apple Music just doesn't care. They're not trying. They don't want you to know what your monthly listeners are unless you have the app for artist only. They don't want you to know how many plays an artist gets. They don't care. But with Spotify, you can do that. But also, here's a novel idea. You could create your own web store and your own website and not rely just strictly on Bandcamp for everything. You could have it all. You could do it all. It says that all of this is built around artist sustainability, not corporate profit. Yeah, but they are taking 15%. You make it sound like, Bandcamp's just doing this out of the goodness of their heart. Like, they're there to make money as well, my guy. Email continues, I'm a small independent artist from Portland. I don't have a label or a team, just me, my laptop, and my fans. Over the last 3 years, I've built about 1,200 followers on Bandcamp. That's pretty good. Are there 1,200 people who go to Bandcamp every year? Okay. But anyways, that's pretty good. 1,200 followers on Bandcamp. I'd love to know what your Instagram numbers are. And he says, I've made over $8,000 in total sales. Hold up. You said, I've done 350 digital albums and 120 CD sales and about 60 shirt sales. But earlier you were saying it just says sell 100 CDs at $10 a pop. Try to get that on Spotify. Now you're telling me you sold 120 CDs in 3 years. Well, what happened to the 100 CDs in a day? And 60 shirts? That's probably a dope shirt, man. You should let me see one. All right. I love good merchandise. All right. Even if you do work for Bandcamp. Allegedly. The email continues. He's made $8,000 in 3 years on Bandcamp. He's sold 350 digital albums, 120 CDs, and about 60 shirts. All to people who actually care about the music. Compare that to Spotify, where I've had about 70,000 streams total and made roughly $210. That's insulting. 70,000 streams is nothing to sneeze at. That's a pretty good number, too. Okay, so if all of these numbers are correct, you are actually doing something right, to be honest with you. You are bringing people, if these numbers are correct, and these are the numbers you're doing on Bandcamp, which this is an outlier. Most artists are not doing these numbers on Bandcamp. Trust me. You've done 70,000 streams on Spotify. See, artists do this. They whine and complain that nobody's going to Spotify. I don't get any Spotify plays. But then you go back and look, in the last 6 months, all they did was tell everybody how Spotify rips them off and don't go support them. So don't go support Spotify, but, nobody supports me on Spotify. You see the circle there? But 70,000 streams on Spotify, not bad. Not bad at all. $210 and 70,000 streams, not great. Not great at all. The email continues. And yet, I keep seeing you tell artists to get their music on Spotify like it's the only path forward. Actually, for real, did you email the right person to defend Bandcamp? Because if you remember correctly, when I was talking about Bandcamp, I did say that Spotify is not the only avenue. You can have different revenue streams. You can have different avenues coming in. I never said that you got to get your music on Spotify because it's the end all, the be all. But you do need to get you do need to have your music on Spotify. You do need to direct people to Spotify. Why? Because everybody's there. Everybody's at Apple Music. There's a little bit of people at Tidal. There's a little bit of people on Amazon Music. And then I guess somebody's still on Pandora or something like that. I don't know. But the reason why I care about Spotify and the reason why I direct artists to go to Spotify is because everybody's there. And people are pretty set in their ways. And not a lot of people want to go to an obscure, broken down website to buy an album that they don't even know what to do with. And a physical CD that they probably can't play. Let's continue. Tell artists to get on Spotify like it's the only path forward. He says it's not, which I agree, it's not. It's the hamster on the wheel that keeps us chasing attention instead of building real careers. My guy, you've sold 120 CDs. That's not a real career. No offense. It's it's impressive numbers, but you're acting like, if it wasn't for Bandcamp, you'd be sitting here living in a box in Portland. In Chaz or whatever. You're not building a real career on Bandcamp either. You've sold 120 CDs. Impressive, yes. But don't act like they're the game changer here. Because those 120 people, you could have also sent to Apple Music. to the iTunes store, to Amazon MP3. Credit cards are already built in Amazon. Credit card numbers are already built in Apple iTunes. They don't even have to think about buying it. They just click and they buy it. Bandcamp, I got to go. I got to register for an account. I got to enter my credit card information in. You might have had more sales if Bandcamp would actually make it easier for people to get around and maybe create an app. But hey, what do I know? The email continues. You talk a lot about emotional connections. That's literally what Bandcamp was built for. Seriously, do you work with Bandcamp? Listeners there leave messages, he says. They buy merch, share music, and pay more because they want to support artists. Spotify listeners, they barely even know who they're listening to because the playlist culture has turned artists into background noise. Do you go out and yell at clouds too, like the Grandpa Simpson meme? So now we're against playlist. You know how many artists have been discovered because of curated playlists? I have actually found artists. I have actually interviewed artists because it was brought up in my new music today on Spotify. You're going to get that on Bandcamp. Playlist culture has turned artists into background noise. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, we don't value music. That's why with my kids, I make them read books and I give them money to read books. When they finish a book, they get $20 for each book they read because they don't value music. My daughter kind of does with her CDs, but easy come, easy go with that. They don't value movies or TV because everything's on streaming. It's not like you have to go to the store and buy a DVD or wait for it to come in the mail. Like you just a couple of clicks on a remote and you get it. So I've actually, for the last couple of years, made my kids read books and then I pay them to complete the book. We talk about it because it's like the last dying media of valuing somebody's art. And I hope that I can instill in them that if you value art in a book form, you'll be able to value it in music or live performance or acting and so on and so on. So yeah, it is background noise now because we don't value it. But what you're hoping is that you stand out from the background noise. You're hoping that while somebody's washing their dishes, listening to a curated playlist, that they go, whoa, who was that? Because I've done that. Shout out to Rich Will. That's how I found Rich Will. That's how I discovered Rich Will, because of a playlist. He's a great artist out of Dallas, Texas. Drop in and tell him I said hi and then try to send him to Bandcamp and buy one of your CDs. Anyways, the email continues. He says, I get it. Spotify looks sleek, it's convenient, and it makes artists feel legit to say they're on there. I don't know any artists that feel legit for being on Spotify. It's a pretty easy process to do. It's not like it's just an exclusive club. You get on TuneCore or DistroKid or whoever you distribute your music through, and I guess you can be part of the exclusive club of Spotify. Is it sleek? Yes. Is it user-friendly? Yes. I think Spotify is actually better than Apple Music when it comes to the consumer aspect. I think Apple Music is pretty wonky. Tidal, I had a Tidal account for a little bit just to see what was going on. It's whatever. It's uninspiring. I did have a Pandora account back in the day. I actually think the Bandcamp boys are more, I'm legit because I'm on Bandcamp and I'm not stupid like these other artists who are on Spotify. I think you guys have more of a God complex with the legit feeling than an artist on Spotify. I don't know. I've never heard an artist say, I feel legit. I'm on Spotify now. Unless it's like their first single that ever was released. Email continues, but come on, man. You know this business. You've seen how labels and corporations have treated creators for decades. Yeah. That's why I said in that video that I think you're replying to, if you were to leave Spotify today, they're not even going to miss a beat. They could care less. I would never invest in like a business like Spotify because the rooster is coming home soon where they're going to have to start paying more out to the labels. The majors aren't going to put up with this much longer, and they'll pull their catalog if they don't get paid. And labels, if we answered that email the other day from the label that wants to pay them 50, they want 50% of your music. Like, yeah, those labels trample all over artists, but you get a good lawyer, you get a good label, you'll have a good deal. You'll have a good life. If you play by the rules and you do what you're supposed to do. The email continues, Bandcamp is one of the few platforms left that's actually on our side. How? Because somebody can leave a comment? Because I can buy your album for $10 or go over to iTunes and buy it for $9.99? Yeah, I know. Bandcamp takes 15%. iTunes takes 30%. But how is this on your side? It's just another platform. It's a niche platform that helps artists. How is this on your side? Email continues. So yeah, I'm disappointed. You've got a big platform and a lot of artists listen to you. If you really wanted to help them, you'd be showing them how to own their music and their audience, not teaching them how to survive inside a broken system that's never going to care about them. How to own their own music. Do you think when you put your music on Apple Music, they own the rights to your music? No. Yeah, I mean, honestly, these days, I don't think an artist even needs a record label, to be honest with you. That's why I got out of A&R years ago. I saw what was coming and I didn't want to get fired. But you get to keep your music. You own the rights to your music if you put it on digital streaming platforms, DSPs. Is Spotify broken? I think Spotify breaks a lot of careers. Yes, I think it helps a lot of artists. I think a lot of people will take the chance, roll the dice, listen to an artist that they don't know anything about because it doesn't cost them anything. And they're so ingrained. Spotify is so ingrained in our society and our mind now that anybody can do it. But if you were to send somebody to Bandcamp and tell them to go check out your music, if they don't know how Bandcamp works, which half the time it doesn't work, then you're going to lose that fan. You're going to lose that sale. And you are driven by money. This is not about art. This is about you sold 120 CDs and you have a thriving career that you owe all to Bandcamp now. Is the system broken? Yeah, I mean, like I said the other day, I think Spotify should pay more. I don't think Spotify should be running political, ads for the free tier. It's not going away. Spotify is not going away. Apple Music is not going away. Tidal probably will go away. Amazon Music, they'll be here forever. It's not going away. So you can sit here and buck the system and beat your chest that you've made 120 sales of CDs in 3 years and kind of like, whatever, I had 70,000 streams, like 70,000 streams. Go Google what stadium holds 70,000 people. Tell me that's not a lot. That's a lot of people. And to sit there and say, well, I only made $210. Yeah, that is low. But think about this. You made $210 from your music. There are artists out there right now who'd give their arm to make $210 in music off of Spotify. There are people right now who they'd do anything to have 70,000 plays on Spotify. And you're taking 120 plays or 120 sales of your CD. And you're like, wow, look at this. Look how successful I am. And not realizing 70,000 people listen to your song. But the 120 are more important because you want to play purist here with your music. Go for it. He says, you can call me old school, but I believe artists deserve to be paid fairly. What is fairly? I continue to ask this, and I actually had a comment on YouTube the other day that said, artists will always complain that they're not getting paid a fair share. Absolutely 100% correct. What is being paid fairly? Because right now, Bandcamp's taking 15% from you, and you're perfectly fine with that. But iTunes taking 30% is heresy. And they're a corrupt corporation that's screwing artists, and those dumb artists who aren't you, they feel more legit because they're on it, but you're smarter than everybody because you sold 120 CDs. Meanwhile, the person you think is an idiot's got like 5 million streams, but you're the smart one. Email continues, and until streaming platforms start doing that, paying fairly, I'll keep telling every musician I know to get on Bandcamp, sell physical copies, connect directly with fans, and stop worshiping the algorithm. How are you sending these fans to Bandcamp? Where are you finding them at? On Instagram? On Facebook? You seem like an X guy. On X? You do know there's an algorithm there too. You know there's an algorithm that's pushing your content out to your followers or to new followers. Selling physical copies, once again. You've sold 120. How many did you buy? How many did you get ordered out of that 120? 1,000? So right now you're sitting on, let's say you did 1,000. You're sitting on 880 copies of inventory, of money sitting in a box. Now connect directly with your fans. I'm all about that all day long. I've been saying that since 2014. I was telling artists that when I was working at the label before 2014. Personal emotional connection with your fans. Connect directly with them. Yes, all day long. But selling physical copies, you've sold 120. And worshiping the algorithm, you're on YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social probably. I don't know. They all have an algorithm as well, my guy. He just says, respectfully but honestly frustrated with you, Bob in Portland. Well, Bob, thanks for ripping me a new one. We will agree to disagree. I will say this. I had so many emails from artists defending Bandcamp. There's something there. But what the there is a bunch of bands gassing up other bands. That's it. There's no fans there. I had one guy who bragged in our comments how he sold 12 copies. He sold 12 copies on Bandcamp. And it's like, you could have done that on iTunes as well, but you probably have spent the last 5 years telling everybody iTunes sucks and Spotify sucks and the algorithm sucks. So why would they? You directed them. You told them what to do. And now you're complaining because nobody goes there. And the only way that Spotify will start paying more to independent artists is when more people get off a free tier and get to premium. I'm not saying that as a spokesperson or a shareholder or shill or whatever. I'm saying that as somebody who understands business. Does Spotify pay enough to artists? Absolutely not. Should they pay more? Yes. Are people like Daniel Ek making way too much money? You know, he's not with the company anymore because I guess he's doing some nuclear war caps or something like that. Yes. Should that money have gone back to artists? Yes. Did it? No. What are we going to do about it? You're going to ignore the biggest app when it comes to music and people discovering music and listening to music? Or are you going to lean into it and make a bunch of new fans? Are we going to poo-poo 70,000 streams and cheer 120 sales so we can be purist? Or are we going to go out there and make sure as many people in the world, the ocean, not the puddle, hear our music? Once again, thanks for your email. I always love a lively debate. If you have a question on the music industry that you want me to answer, just go to MatthewRicks.com, click submit your question. Give me as many details as possible. And until next time, I will talk to you later.